We welcome Ty McGauley into the bunker. Your brother Tim was a first-round Bantam draft pick by the Saskatoon Blades.
Yeah.
Ended up having a great career with the Brandon Wheat Kings. Even had a 100-point season with the Wheat Kings, now in the East Coast Hockey League. But you're making waves across the hockey world now with what is it, OM Hockey Systems?
Hockey Systems.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that, and really thank you for coming by today.
Well, thank you for having me. I guess to really boil it down, it's a revolutionary way to develop hockey players that fits exactly into the needs of the First Nation communities. First Nation hockey players are, some of the most neglected members of our hockey community, and a lot of them are living in really remote areas that don't have access to development programs. And obstacle-based development is a revolutionary way to, instead of having an external trainer develop you, you have the obstacle develop you instead. And, these specially authorized obstacles. So, we can put these programs up in places where, very remote areas where they can get access to the elite development programs that they lacked in the past.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a ton of obstacles in place, no doubt. But what are some of the bigger obstacles? You talk about being in remote areas. That's tough to get access to some of the greater programs. But there's a lot of talented hockey players in different corners of this province.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of obstacles in hockey in general. And for these kids, a lot of these kids, the remoteness is the biggest one. What we hear the most is remoteness. It's being the only First Nation kid in the dressing room. There's a lot of things with these kids, it's tough for them to overcome. And what we do is that we give them the elite development program for First Nations exclusively. So it kind of gives them, an inclusive atmosphere for them to come in, participate, develop. And also, we bring other members of the community in there as well. So we kind of have a good mix of professional athletes with young kids, First Nation kids.
That's really cool. Yeah. I mean, let's not shy away from it. I mean, financial restrictions, that's an obstacle too.
Absolutely.
We've come a long way, and I know that as a people, but it hasn't been that long. When you think about even 100 years, if we've come a certain place, in 100 years, and we feel we've grown, and whether it's, racism or whether it's inclusion or whether it's breaking down boundaries and barriers, that's not a long time. That's a little over one lifetime. One person's lifetime. That's it.
Yeah. Well, right now, as we speak, the suicide rate for First Nation kids in northern communities is 11 times the national average. It's 11 times the national average. So it's not just 100 years ago. This is happening right now. And we're a first world country. We're a G7 country, man. And, these are Canadian citizens. People sometimes in this country, they don't look at First Nations like they're average Canadians, but that's what they are. And when you have a community that's 11 times the national suicide average for children, that is a crisis in progress. And this is a program, we're very fortunate to have the ability to do something about that with a program like this. We've already seen, huge strides in mental health with these kids that we've been working with. We work with some inner city kids, and these are kids that, they don't have a lot going. You know what I mean? There's not a lot going. And for them to have something where they're getting competent rapidly in hockey, which is a culturally significant thing to be, there's a social credibility to hockey in this country. It's not like getting good at badminton.
Right.
And when you're good at hockey, you hold your head up higher. You have this, if other things in your life aren't going good, at least you have this, and that positive momentum can really lead you to some really, high places. And we're starting to see that with these kids. We're starting to see that social progress, not only on the ice, but off the ice. And we're giving them a sense of self-worth, and we're giving them, a sense of self-worth, self-confidence, and that's the foundation for mental health. And we're starting to see that. We see that in the kids that we've developed already, and this is what we're aiming to do across the country.
Ty, that's so huge. My sister's a foster parent, so I see this kind of stuff too. And it's not just First Nations and Indigenous, but that's a big part of it as we're still trying to grow. But we've got to start with the kids, right? And getting them into good situations. Hockey's so critical, just because of what you said. And it's not just because hockey's better than football or better than soccer or better than badminton. But you're right, it has a little bit of a social, prestige to it. And it also gives you 23 friends or 18 friends right away.
Absolutely.
And a group to belong to.
Dude, this sport is so cool.
Yeah.
It's so slept on. It's a very unique sport. It's almost like a mystery, but the people that know what it's about, they love it. Our country, we love this sport. It's our sport. This province is arguably the heartland of this sport, the heart of this sport. And for us to do this here is a big deal. And you know, like you said, you get 23 friends, but hockey teaches you how to be, I don't want to go into like gender terms, but be like a better man or a better woman. It gives you a lot of life experience at a very young age. It's not just a contact sport. You know, hockey's a combat sport. There's things involved in this sport that you don't have. There's other obstacles in this sport that you don't have to overcome in other sports. And you know, First Nations are warrior people, man. Like they're Plains Indians, they're warrior people, and this sport borrows heavily from lacrosse. And we think this is something where First Nations were born to play this game, and they just need the opportunity to get that elite development to take their place at the table.
Well, the ones I played with, super talented.
Yes.
Like offensively talented. They can skate, and they've got the most incredible puck skills. I don't know what it is.
Creative, like very creative, very free-flowing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
but that's part of the culture, though, too, is spirituality, creativity, free-flowing. It's a little bit of that warrior mantra and things like that, which is really cool. And it was a big part of the NHL's Heritage Classic, too. They talk about hockey. And Rod and I and producer Clark were at the NHL Heritage Classic luncheon with Gary Bettman and Elliot Friedman from the NHL and Hockey Night in Canada. And they talked about, and they had the Chiefs up and things like that, and they talked about, you know, the land we were playing on, but also that hockey was the common ground. So with all the difficulties, the residential schools and different things that, you know, the people are going through, hockey was the common ground that brought people together, and they really rallied around guys, you know, like Fred Sasakamoose, who played in the NHL. So
no, absolutely.
That's pretty cool. The 48-hour program. Tell me about like what the program really is, because you brought it to Regina a couple of years ago, and now it's grown. Yeah.
So the reason why we do 48 hours is because we want to give them professional grade programming. We ran the first professional grade program for First Nations in the country, in the history of hockey in this country. And you know what we think of, like there's ways to really develop hockey players, and there's ways to kind of just be a babysitting service. You know, like there's sometimes where you have like
Trust me,
you know,
I know.
Yeah, you know, five, you know, you got 5 ice times in the summertime, and then you go off and do, you know, just keep doing what you've been doing. And that's not how professional athletes train. And especially professional athletes at the highest level, they train on the ice, and they train a lot. And so that's what we did with these kids. We gave them a real professional grade programming with obstacle-based development, with the cutting edge of what's happening today with development. And yeah, we've had this incredible response from that.
Awesome.
And not only that, like these kids showed up every single day. You know, they showed up every single day on time. They're about it. They know that they're getting better, and that's something where they're being rewarded for their discipline. It's not every day where you have a lot of hard work and then you get a lot of it back. And sometimes if you put a lot of hard work into something, you don't get much back, it can kind of sour you on discipline. But these kids are being rewarded for their discipline directly, and this is also starting to spill over in their lives. So, you know, this is something that's going to affect them for the rest of their lives, and that's our goal.
That's very cool. Yeah. Very cool. You played some pro overseas. Yeah. What, Japan?
I played
Sweden?
Japan. Yeah, a little bit in Sweden, mostly in Japan.
Where'd you play? Did you play junior?
I played, so like I was hurt most of my junior career. Like I was in the Alberta Junior Hockey League for a little minute, then I got hurt, and I ended up playing in the Atlantic Junior Hockey League down in Philadelphia there. Okay. And then right after that, I went out to Sweden. So nice. Kind of a spotty.
You still play? Career. Playing some senior hockey?
No, well, a little bit.
Senior hockey's huge in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it is huge. It is huge, but you know, I got a lot of my players.
Yeah,
now,
of course you do. Yeah. And Tim is what, Utah?
He's in
the
Utah
East Coast Hockey League, and just pulling up his stats. 8 points in 9 games. He's a great player.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah, after wrapping up his career in the Western Hockey League, the last couple of seasons in the East Coast League, South Carolina, and now Utah. How much do you keep in touch with what's going on with Tim?
All the time. Me and him talk a lot. Like he trains with me. Like this, we started training together. You know, like this whole thing started when I was 18. I decided to like be a professional hockey player, and 18's really late to get your stuff together and go for something. And I did, and that's one of the reasons I came to realize what I realized about hockey development is because I didn't have much time. I had to get better quickly, and so I put hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars into programs that were at the time, still considered this day the best programs in the world. But it didn't give me what I needed. Yeah. And so then I realized, there was some big.
You're 15 years behind everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only that. Like I was at the cutting edge of the development program, but I realized that we're not exactly hitting the vein, so to speak, about how to make a good hockey player here. Like there's some huge holes in the way that we're developed players here, and we got to look at the game in a way, more creative angle, because we're missing something. And what we were missing is that this game is an obstacle-based game. And so obstacle-based games should be developed on obstacle-based development programs.
Very cool. Yeah. We're up against it. We got to go. But how can people get involved if you're looking for people to get involved or players into your camp?
Yeah, you just visit us at our website, omhockeysystems.com. It's omhockeysystems.com, and all the details are right there. So
Om Hockey Systems, omhockeysystems.com.
Yeah,
Ty, this has been great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
And all the best with the program.
Thank you very much.
All right.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.